I think you guys can hear me,
Yes.
and the stream should be able to hear me as well. But yeah, I mean, this is still pretty early on. They haven't actually shown this off on the test server. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But essentially, so far, it's only like a script kind of based program. You're just going to write down lines of text, and that will translate into match rules. So it might be too technical for some people, but hopefully someone like Orangey will create a sort of custom match designer that you can then export and import these custom match rule sets into. So if
Um,
you're watching this, Orangey, make sure you get on that and set that up.
I want to see a custom match where you start with a general with 2 fleetness.
Yes, that would be super cool. It wouldn't actually do anything, just one. Yeah, it would actually. Never mind.
Yeah, no, but it's a very cool idea. If especially because you can not only set up stuff like the scrolls opponents start with and all of that, because technically you can set that up in a real match, but you can do special rules like every fourth turn the enemy casts decimation or something weird, and then that can lead to some very very interesting matches.
Yeah, and essentially it's kind of like the what's it called? The daily challenges system, but it's now for multiplayer because you can create these custom rule sets and then have fun with players and play against each other instead of playing against the AI. So that is what makes me excited about it. But I think that it's time now to move on to the Echo spoilers.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Let me just switch scenes there for a second. And we are going to start off with the scrolls have been released on the test server. Me and the Overlord, and I think Billy and Xylus, we covered the first 12 scrolls that Mojang released on the test server. 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that, they released an additional 12 scrolls onto the test server. And the first of these is Oppressor's Rule for Order. It's a 2-order spell, and units on one side of a row have their move decreased by 1 until the end of their turn, and any attached enchantments are destroyed. So what do you guys think about this?
I think this scroll is crazy.
As in good?
As in, yes, good, very good. Not even a little.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing as well.
I think this is Order's version of a scroll to deal with the super buffed units. I think later we will see in the spoilers another scroll that can do that. So
Yeah, I think a
yeah,
lot of people who were worried about these god decks, they might have been a bit too hasty in calling out nerfs to Ward or to the Mystic, because this now really makes those scrolls bad. I mean, you can't really play god decks anymore because if your opponent has Oppressor's Rule, you're dead. You've stacked up that mega unit, and he doesn't even need to target it anymore, and he can remove it essentially from play. So maybe because this exists in the game, or will soon, they can buff up these combo decks again, so that they become viable.
Well, the dev said they wanted to make an anti-enchantment scroll for every faction.
Yeah, and if every faction has this sort of, you don't need to target the unit. So it's essentially an anti-ward enchantment scroll.
Yes.
Then it's safe again to buff up these enchantments and allow for god units, because I think they're interesting. I mean, it requires a lot of combo pieces in your hand. It requires awareness of when it's safe to play a unit or not, and it's interesting.
I do think that Oppressor's Rule is the best scroll at doing this because you can just target the row. Because later we will see on the decay one, I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but for that one you need to target a unit next to the one that you want to remove all their enchantments. So that means that if the enemy knows he's playing against decay, he just has to make sure his unit is separate from all the other units on his board, and then he would be safe if the unit has ward.
Actually, because this is probably the best version of those sort of anti-ward, anti-god unit spells. Because of what you said, it's so easy to use. There's no specific requirements for it. There is no setting up. You just play it on that row. And in many
I also
cases,
like
it's
that if
good in any deck, really.
yeah, the move decreased by one is also extremely good because not only are you making, for example, a veil that or actually a wilding is what they use. If the enemy has a wilding that's 10 health and 20 attack, and then they not only do they make it to 400 with the stats, but it won't be able to move. So the following turn they can snipe it. So it's double removal for that super buffed unit.
And this will also work really well in non-god unit decks, because in many cases, you only want to remove enchantments on your opponent. And that's an interesting thing about this and the other scroll we're going to discuss. It doesn't remove any poisons or curses, because it only says attached enchantments, not attached effects. So you can kind of successfully run this in a poison deck, just splash it in, and you can remove any beneficial enchantments on your opponent units. Like they might put a Stagheart on their unit, but they might have curse and poison. Player presses rule, the Stagheart is removed. It's kind of tricky if you're playing something like Infectious Blight, because that is an enchantment. But there are probably ways to make use of these sort of remove enchantments that don't remove effects. But I think that's enough about this one. Let's move on to the next one, which is Favored. So it's a 3-order enchantment with the base ability of enchanted unit gets +2 health. And then it has on top of that a Dominion effect. The enchanted unit's attack is increased by your order. So this is your base order. If you have 6 order, that becomes a +6 attack. And I think it also means that if you then increase your order, the attack is increased on top of it. So you can put this down on turn 3. That thing will have 3 attack. If you have a Dominion by turn 3. Sack for an order, turn 4, it now has +4 attack. Sack for another order, turn 5, it now has +5 attack. And that makes it one of the best enchantments in the game, I'd say.
If you can get the minion by turn 2, that is.
Yes, and if you can't get the minion by turn 3, it probably doesn't matter what you play.
Oh my god, yeah, but I totally hadn't understood that this one built up with your order. I thought it was like an instant sort of thing. So when everyone was saying favored OP, I'm like, what are they talking about? At maximum, it's getting like a little health and attack buff, nothing amazing. But yeah, if this goes in with the order that you have, I can yeah, this will be played in every late game order deck.
I was discussing this with the Overlord, and we said that it's probably going to be played in every deck, period. Every order deck, period. Because in temp order as well, you're probably going to be at 5 order when Dominion has been achieved. And playing a 3-order enchantment that gives you +5 attack and +2 health is pretty amazing, in my opinion. It's better than an Earth and Earth, and you play Earth and Earth in aggro growth. So, yeah.
People say Machinated is OP. No, this scroll is OP.
Yeah, it doesn't have any downsides. I think that's the problem with it. I'm not sure how you would work in a downside into this.
On the other hand, Dominion, I don't know if it's that easily achieved.
True. But then you have Caravans of the Expanse, which might make it a lot easier to achieve Dominion early on. You don't even need to focus on the idols. You can, as a late game order deck, as a control order deck, kind of fortify your positions a little bit, set up an Arbalestier, then you play Caravans of Expanse, Favored, and that Arbalestier can now take out any unit in the game. Unless it has potion resistance. But that's when they play Oppressor's rule. So I'm going to be a bit afraid of the control order decks if they're going to
Maybe
play
they can
Favored.
make it unique or something.
That would be interesting. I think that would actually make it balanced. Because if you
But
know that you only have to deal with one favored unit at any given point, you can kind of play around it at least. because you know he has one creature, and sure, if they put a favorite on it and do a speed play, then yeah, that's going to suck a lot for you. But then you know that thing has favorite now. He can only have one favorite at any given point. So that would be interesting. And I would love to see
Or just
unique
make it,
enchantments.
yeah, make it so that the effect only starts the turn after favorite is played, not the turn it's played. And I think
That
that
would
would
work
be a
too.
huge downside.
Because you need some sort of way of countering it. I think that makes for really interesting scrolls. And like you said, because favorite is so cheap right now, it's so easy to play it with speed. It's so easy to play it with a blessing or any form of countdown reduction. And then it doesn't become something you can play around as easily. Your opponent can play favored, mangonel, and speed to take out. Like if you're playing big bad energy, you have 7 health, Iron Ogre is out. You can take it out with this. And not really that hard either. So I'd be a bit worried about this if it's entered into the game as is. But I like the idea, I like the power level. The only thing I
I
would
also,
like to see is a counter. But yeah, go ahead, Nanas.
yeah, I also like they're trying to end games quicker, but with caravans and such, I don't think it's the right way.
Yeah, this would probably be played as much as a sort of stalling enchantment as a game finisher. Because you're not going to be able to win, I think, in a control order deck with this on turn 9 or 10 or 11. Because you'd rather just want to clear a board, get some more Imperial resources out, get some more resources, and then win like 10 rounds later anyway. But it's certainly interesting. Definitely need some sort of counterplay. Maybe Oppressor's Force would be a counterplay. But like you said, Franconi, I think your idea where the attack buff only comes in after it is played is probably going to be a good idea because you'd be able to play around it. But
Yeah,
let's move
this
on.
tool is on the test server, right?
Yeah, this one is on the test server. These are all on the
Okay,
test server.
GRE guys, I'm leaving. No, but I'm gonna make a deck right now as we speak
All right,
because yeah.
you do that. Then we're going to go ahead and discuss a really boring creature. I've basically said this is a boring version, an energy version of that growth creature that no one plays.
Are you talking about Mr. Pickaxe guy?
Yep, Mr. Pickaxe Volunteer.
Dude, I love this pull. I mean, energy was really lacking the good 2 drops, and it just, I mean, Hard Smuggler has too little health, and what's the other ones that they have? Hmm. Automaton, the gun automaton. Yeah, I mean,
They have
Pickaxe
the new one.
Volunteer
They
is a
have
bit of
the
everything. He has high stats everywhere, and he doesn't have any downside ability sort of thing. So
well, he's a melee
OP.
creature.
Yeah, OP, OP.
A melee creature with 3 countdown. Because here's the thing, Battle Dance and Fury, they count down 1. So really they work best with a creature that has 2 countdown. Because then you can play it and then next turn it can attack. With Pickaxe Volunteer, you need to play 2 Battle Dances for it to attack the turn after it's been played. And I think that makes it slightly meh.
Yeah, I don't like this scroll really. And if you compare it to the others, this scroll is like nothing. I mean, favorite is yeah. I mean, if you compare it, right?
So let's just move on to the next one.
But imagine playing Machination Mindset on this one.
Sure, super fun play, I guess.
That's five hasted. Well, not hasted. 5 attack.
And 6 base countdown.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I said Machination Mindset, the one that makes it relentless.
Oh right,
So
that one.
yeah, 5 relentless attack.
Yeah, but you
Not
can
quite
you can
enough.
just play a Machination Mindset on the Gravelord Raider.
Yeah. Do you guys know why Mojang wants another 2 drop for energy?
I'm not quite sure. I think they want to introduce, like right now, the true drop is basically Smuggler. Some cases a gun auto.
Yeah,
Maybe
my theory is they had a new guy and they needed him to make some art so that they could get him onto making scrolls, and his art was so good that they just had to put it on a random scroll. So and that's how
that
Pickaxe
sounds like
Volunteer
a
is born.
legit reason. But at least there is this really cool enchantment, the Extractor Device. It's a 3-cost enchantment that has very simple pillage, increase energy by 1. And this is a permanent energy ramp. It's not current energy, it's permanent energy. So you put on something that's attacking, it runs into an idol, you get +1 energy. You're at 6 energy, you then have 7 energy next turn. And I think it's actually pretty cool. I played around with it a lot, but I'm not sure about its cost at 3 energy. It's a bit awkward, because you play a smuggler on turn 2, and it's really the ideal target for this. It's going to be attacking on turn 4, and then you're playing this 3 energy enchantment, and you have 1 leftover energy that you can't really spend as efficiently. And that's the turn you want to play a burn or play a 4-drop. So that's what makes it a bit awkward, in my opinion.
Because if you play it on turn 3, it's just gonna get removed, or the
Yeah.
enemy's gonna play something in front of it because he would get more value from you hitting that unit than hitting the idol.
Exactly. So I'm not sure what to do about this really. I mean, if this was 1 energy, it would be great, because that means when you play it on the hired smuggler that you put out on turn 2, you have 3 leftover energy. You can place down a Boom Reaver or another 3-cost creature. And that would be a really decent turn 4 for you, because the turn after that, on turn 5, you'll be at 6 energy, and you can play a big 6-cost drop. So I actually think this could be really cool at 1 energy. But it might be broken because there is a recently shown Echoes scroll that we're going to be talking about a little bit later that will make this a lot better.
I was about to mention
But
that this scroll will be very, very good combined with the new scroll that we will talk about later.
so for now, let's leave it and move on to the next energy scroll, which is Melt Iron Shell. It's 3 energy. Again, a 3-cost. There's a lot of 3-costs in all of these released scrolls, I've noticed. 3-cost enchantments, 3-cost creatures, and not sure if there is a lack of good 3-drops in the game. Really, what people want in energy is really good 4-drops, really good 4-cost scrolls, and really good 5-cost scrolls. Like a super good range creature at 5 energy would probably be played by everyone in a ranged energy deck at least. But for this thing,
it's true.
Yeah, go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, 5 energy. There are not really any good scrolls at 5 energy.
There used
No, I
to
mean,
be the Gravelock Elder, but when he was nerfed, then he became less good because you don't really want. I mean,
you don't want extra health. You want the extra
it's just
attack.
not great. It's just not that great.
Yeah, like having a temporary health buff isn't as good as having that temporary attack, because you could play your 5-drop. If you could play another Gravelock Elder, then he would be a decent ranged creature. But now he's kind of bad, and there's been a good range replacement. A lot of people play the Ironclad Reaver. He's decent, I guess, but if there was a ranged creature with exact same stats as the Ironclad Reaver, no special ability but range attack, I think that would be played over the Ironclad Reaver 9 times out of 10, except in Lahupa's range energy deck. But yeah, this thing, so the Melt Iron Shell, it's a surge. Enchanted units' attack and health are increased by X. And this works like any other surge scroll. It is when you play it that it sucks up all the remaining current energy and converts it into the surge value. So you play this when you have 6 energy, you get +3/+3. You play this when you have 3 energy, you get nothing. You play this when you have 4 energy, you get a +1/+1. So a 4-cost Stag Heart.
It's
So
almost like favorite, but for energy.
yeah, it kind of is. But this thing is kind of balanced because it takes up your entire turn. That's the interesting thing about it, more or less. Yes, you can play a creature, you can play Bombard, then you can play Melt Iron Shell, but that requires a ton of energy, and even if you're playing power trips, it's not going to be that efficient. What you really want to do is place it on a creature that is already on the field, preferably something that is already attacking, that has piercing or relentless. So this thing, if we're going to look at where it's at the minimum, at its kind of most valuable point, if you're, say, playing it at 5 energy, you're paying 5 energy for +2/+2, and that is almost kinda like an Earthen Mirth. It's not as good as Earthen Mirth, but you're getting +2/+2 spread out as attack and health. But really, it's when you're playing it at 6 energy that it becomes super awesome in value, because you then get a total of 6 stat points, and that is in line with Earthen Mirth. Earthen Mirth is 4 growth for 4 attack, so that is 4 points of stats. Melt Iron Shell at 6 energy would be +3/+3, so a total of 6 for 6. And that is pretty good, in my opinion. And then on top of that, you could do these combo wombos.
You know, really hate Canonetta right now, but with this one, it's even going. Yeah, it's even more bad.
Yeah, you could even play it on the Ash Runner, that one cost piercing unit.
I'm always scared of energy, like they can be very unexpected with those attack buffs.
Yeah, I mean, would you guys, if you ran Melt Iron Shell, would you remove something like Machinated to make room for it?
Yeah, definitely. You don't need that much, that many permanent attack buffs. I think the Metal Iron Shell is going to be running with all the instant energy scrolls that there are, kind of like the conduit, the fulmination conduit, and because we're also getting more instant ramp, like what's it called? Thought Trap? No, no, no.
Lightning Trap.
Yes, that one.
The Lightning Chest.
And
Yes.
chest. Oh my god, yes. And with power trips, and so you would just play all of these things, get up to 12 energy, play this niche called Melt Iron, and then you get a massive unit. And if the opponent doesn't have Damning Curse, he's gonna have some trouble dealing with it.
Yeah. So with that, let's move on to the growth scrolls. And first off, we have Steelwood Champion, is a 4-cost. Human Warden with a 4/2/3 satellite and inspiring +1. I think he's decent. It's kind of like a he has this kind of Crimson Ball effect. I don't think there's actually that much of a difference between a global +1 and a global +2. Because you play Crimson Ball and you have usually creatures with attack of 2 or more attacking. So when that is the case, you can kill anything with 4 health. Pretty much.
I have to
And
say though, I would just play the scroll for the artwork. It's so amazing.
it is pretty amazing. He's been compared to the Frostbeard. He's kind of like a younger Frostbeard. So it makes me wonder if they're going to change the subtype of the Frostbeard, perhaps, to Warden. And in fact, they might already have done that. Nope, they have not.
Also, the flavor is the same from the Jarl, I think.
Yes, so they haven't added the flavor just yet. It's probably going to be for another lore contest. I'm certainly looking forward to that. But what do you guys think of him in a sort of growth deck? What sort of growth deck do you think you'd play him in, first of all? Would it be an aggro deck, or would it be a mid-range deck, or perhaps even a control deck?
It would be definitely an aggro deck or a beast deck, because you have a lot of tiny creatures attacking almost every turn. But the main problem with this guy is the 3 health, because it's the reason people don't play. Oh my god, I'm forgetting all the name of all the scrolls. The
Corpus
Corpus
Collector?
Collector, yes.
Yeah.
Just he has a really cool ability. I mean, in summoning a husk like that out of nowhere, but the 3 health means that it can be burnt. It can be easily dealt with. And
But I think this is a different case because you instantly get value by its inspiring buff, and Corpus Collector does nothing like that.
Yes, it has that going for it. You always get something. Like, you put him down, you're going to play him when something is attacking. Otherwise, it's a complete waste. And his inspiring thing will encourage you to hold on to him until you can pull off the inspiring, buff up a couple of attacking creatures, and at the same time place down a creature on the board. I mean, you can kind of treat this as a spell. Give give a cluster of creatures +1 attack until the end of turn, and plonk down a 4/2/3 for 4 growth. And if you look at it that way, he becomes a lot more playable than something like the Corpus Collector, because that doesn't do anything until it actually attacks. And that is the problem with a lot of these 3 health creatures. They have great effects, but they don't do anything until they attack. It was the same thing with the Hired Marksman. He was 3 health. He had an amazing ability, but you actually had to make him attack before he provided you the value. And when you're paying 4 resources for a 3 health creature that can really easily be destroyed by a Ragged Wolf Crimson Bull or a Burn or a Skirmisher. I mean, there's so many ways to kill off a 3 health creature. You need that instant value or value that persists even if it dies. So because of that, I think he is pretty decent.
I like this scroll also because I have a new super secret deck and it's Noadi Metempsychosis. So if you play that on this guy, you can get like a Crimson Bull effect.
Oh yeah, because it is a coming into play effect. So you can repeat it almost. Well, that is interesting.
That's actually nice.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, you're paying a 3. I think Metamorphosis is 3 order.
Yeah,
So
that's why you have to play the Noadi before.
yeah, I mean, you're paying 4 growth first for him. Then you're playing him again for just 1 less resource, essentially, to get the same inspiring effect. So, I don't know. I think it would be pretty neat. You're paying 7 resources total for a Crimson Bull and a 4/2/3 body. Oh yeah,
Well,
might not be that good.
yeah.
But let's move on to just a super awesome unit. It's the Verdant Remnant. It's a 4-cost structure totem, 0 attack, 3 countdown for health and haste. When this thing counts down to 0, you draw 1 creature scroll. And that means that this is a cantrip wall. You play it, you immediately get a scroll back, and it's also a specific scroll. You know it's going to be a creature scroll. And it doesn't say from your library or anything like that, so you can draw from your discard pile if you don't have any creatures left in your library, which is pretty neat in my opinion. And then after 3 more turns, you get another creature. And if you play a Rallying, you're probably going to get another scroll directly the turn afterwards. So what do you guys think about this scroll?
It's pretty cool.
Yes, I have mixed feelings actually about it. I don't know, it's really good, but it doesn't advance your state and put in that creature attack on the board. But yeah, it's probably good. I'm not this good at this game.
I just think it's better than Skythorn. I mean, Skythorn does have Spiky, and Skythorn does draw a random scroll, and this one is a specific creature one. But this one has haste, and often you don't get to draw from Skythorn, so not sure.
Yeah, Skythorn is really bad in comparison. Like, sure, it's 1 growth less and you get Spiky, but you're not guaranteed card draw. Like we were talking about, when you start paying more and more for a unit, you want it to give you
User
value.
entered your channel.
And here we have Da Overlord. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we've just been going over the test server scrolls. We are now up to the Verdant Remnant. And then we're going to go over all the other spoilers. Yeah, it started a bit earlier because people were kind of asking for a Squiddy stream. So, blame Crowdsash. There you have it.
Well, okay. So Which one were we on?
So now we're on Verdant Remnant. It's that structure that draws you a creature scroll and has haste. What do you think about it?
Just a short question. How many cards before this have we gone through? Just so I have a
All right,
time.
we've got through Oppressor's Rule, Favored, Pickaxe Volunteer. You can actually give your 5 to 10 second thought on all of these. So Oppressor's
Okay.
Rule, what are your thoughts?
Versatile, flexible, and useful.
All right, Favored.
Dominion done wrong gets too much of a power spike.
Pickaxe Volunteer.
OP.
A very not much to say. It's a outcast rebel for energy.
The Extractor Device.
Very useful. Is it overpowered? Don't know.
The Melt Iron Shell.
I think it's very balanced and nice. I've seen people think it's very strong, but honestly, it's like you will spend 8. If you spend 8 energy for it, you will get 5 attack and 5 health, which I find reasonable.
And Steelwood Champion. And then we're up to speed.
Steelwood, oh, it's that guy. Yeah, I like him. He's balanced and good. He might be the first 4-drop with 3 health that will see regular play.
Yeah, and it's really thanks to that value trait. You get something when you play him immediately.
Yeah.
And now we're back to the Verdant Remnant.
Okay.
So, yeah, you probably think... I think everyone agrees on this being a really useful scroll. And really the only question is, will all growth decks have this? Yes?
So,
I mean, I see this in a growth aggro deck, to be honest with you.
I'm not so sure if it's going to be in every, because if you have it just in a regular growth deck, it's essentially a sort of a glorified Eye of the Eagle. Like, yes, you get a structure there, but is that worth for the glorified Eye of the Eagle?
That is a good comparison to make.
So I'm not sure it's gonna be in all growth decks. What I know is that it, in its current state, and that is why I want it to be a random card instead of a creature card. It's going to be used in all of these god kind of decks.
Yes.
So that's my opinion of it.
Because you now have Sumata Shift, you have the Verdant Remnant, you have Eye of the Eagle, and I think there's one more. Draws you a creature. Okay, it could just be those. And then you have the creature itself. So you can build a deck with just one creature, and 12 scrolls out of 50 will get you that creature. And then you're increasing reliability a ton. And if you have 2 creatures, for example in a Sumata control deck, Oblivion Seeker, the Veteran, it's a lot easier to draw those things now. So yeah, I'd be a bit worried about the Verdant Remnant in those very narrow creature-focused draw decks. It would be interesting to see if they make a change to this.
Yeah, because I think god decks and such they can be there, but I don't find it necessary to improve them when it's not needed, and I don't feel it's needed for this card. This is like just for flavor for Verdant Remnant.
Yeah.
But you cannot really change Sumata Shift without completely revamping it. So, but this one don't really need to draw a creature, I feel.
Alright, then we shall move on to the Decay Scrolls. So first off, we have Deathly Grasp. It's a 2 decay spell that gives target creature Slayer until the end of turn. So I think this was positioned by Mojang as sort of an anti-god creature spell. Because no matter how super buffed up that creature is, it still dies to Slayer. Unless it has enough armor to block the damage from Slayer. Or it has plating. And it's probably going to be useful in a lot of situations, even if you're not playing against god unit decks, because you might want to take out a super expensive, I don't know, Thea if they're playing a big bad energy deck, or an Iron Ogre, or Cannon Automaton, and you're only paying 2 decay for it, and you need to have an attacking creature. I guess that would be the problem in decay, having something that is attacking and in line, and that has the opportunity to go bypass any armor or any blockers. So first off, Nananas, what do you think about this?
I would like to see it with a piercing unit, actually. That's gonna be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, off resource, you start splashing this, and it's pretty easy to splash, I think. Only 2 decay, you only need to splash 1 decay and then get 1 wild. So you could see this, I think, maybe even an order deck? Because they get 1 wild.
You're going to see it from me a lot.
You get 1 wild from Prisoners of War, which means you only need to sack for 1 decay. Or you can just use a replenish scroll. All of which are 2.
I just personally use that Vigor Extraction. That works fine in my late game deck as it stalls, just like a Infiltrate.
What sort of other decay scrolls would you play with that? Or would you just have Deathly Grasp as your only decay
just
scroll?
Deathly Grasp. It's all I need. Like it's just having one. It's just having 1 decay, and that's all you need. Yes, you splash for 1 decay one time, but it's totally worth it if you ask me. Like I've seen, because I've said that this card, I feel it has too potent synergy when it comes to range units, like such as Storm Runner's Lobber or the piercing. But I've seen some arguments like for energy machinated to pretty much to work without going into multi-resource, and I'm like, well, fair enough, although machinated has that drawback, which is significant.
True. But this is only for 1 turn, so there is that as well.
That is also very true. But I'm just gonna say, like, if we're not gonna change this to only affect melee, which is my suggestion, that this should not affect range, you're gonna see my Slayer Arbalister against you several times, and don't come crying to me that thing is overpowered, because I've said that should not work. But alright.
But wouldn't you rather play Favored on that Arbalister?
Why not both?
It might be a bit overkill, because if you have Favored on it...
Seriously, why should I have like something like, for example, Focus, when I can have Favored and the Deathly Grasp?
True, but those 2, Focus and Favored, would both be in resource, so they require no sacking outside of it. And I think between those 2, you'd have enough attack to kill off anything anyway, if you put it on Arbalister.
Yeah, in front, yeah, but the fact that he can wipe the row, no matter the damage, is way more efficient than Focus. So, like, even Favored, even if I give the Arbalister 11 attack with Favored, he won't more than not kill the 3rd guy furthest behind. But for just 1 decay, because the other will be a wild, which can be seen as a order, I can kill anything on that row.
That is
except for structures.
Yeah. I guess that is the only kind of drawback for this, and I've seen a lot of people talk in the chat here that in Decay you'd probably just run Cursed Presence instead, because that allows you to take out structures. And in Decay you don't actually have any piercing units that can take advantage of this effect.
Yeah, so I mean, in Decay alone, this is very balanced, but it's the cross synergy, and I don't feel it's a good idea to make this into a free cost, because then it
would be awful.
Weak. Not awful, but weak.
I mean, if you could compare it then to an Unforeseen Onslaught. Unforeseen Onslaught is a board-wide Slayer. Yes, it's very specific.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's very conditional with the 1 attack. You can't really trigger it on a lot of things. But I think Decay would be kind of... I find it interesting, because I thought this was not the mindset when they were like, well, this is Decay's answer to deal with like God units. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be used for other things than dealing with God units, but alright.
And we have actually a decay scroll coming up that we're going to discuss that probably better deals with God units. So,
Yeah.
Franconi, what are your thoughts on Deathly Grasp before we move on?
I think that this scroll needs to be slightly buffed actually, because I think it should either be 1 cost and then until end of turn, or 2 cost and it's a permanent effect. But I feel like 2 cost and only 1 turn, not that great. It's just my personal opinion. I mean, if you have to invest, yeah, it's just a permanent effect. It's like a bad Crimson Bull. I don't know. No, it's just, yeah. I don't like that it's for only 1 turn.
I mean, don't want to make the comparison to a focus, but generally you play a focus on something and the thing that you run into is going to die. Most cases. This costs twice as much, and
Who is getting arrested? Okay.
Alright, never mind. Let's just move on. I guess the police.
Yeah, but I just short as you were talking, I think it is a good comparison with focus. Like, yes, it's 1 turn, but dude, focus is used all the time. And yes, this costs 2 instead of 1, but it's way better than focus. Because you get infinite damage. As long as it's not against structures, you get infinite damage.
Yeah, but only if you have piercing. Because if you do this with Relentless, it doesn't actually work out. Because Slayer and Relentless has this weird kind of interaction where you need the full amount of attack to get through the first unit. And then any leftover attack, yes, that can instantly kill something. But you can never really. It just becomes really weird with Relentless.
To make it a simple explanation, yes, the interaction with Relentless and Slayer can seem a bit weird, but to make a simple explanation, Slayer is only applied to the last unit a Relentless guy hit.
Yeah. So because of that, in a way, focus can almost be better with Relentless units. And in Decay, you're only gonna normally in Decay, you're probably gonna have a non-relentless dude that you put Deathly Grasp on, and it attacks a big thing. And in that scenario, it is kind of comparable to a focus. So in resource, it might need a buff, but like you said, splash this into other resources, and it might be too strong. So they might have to think about how to potentially tweak this.
I just think it should be applied to melee, but
If it was just applied to melee, I would actually like it at 1 decay. And I think it would be fine.
I can get behind that as well.
Would it be able to be played on Irva then?
Yes, because she is melee.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that would be fine, actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine to have those sort of combos.
Because, I mean, like, yes, she can attack several times that turn and do Slayer, but I would say that's a balanced combo. But because you still need the setup of the other undeads that is about to attack and stuff. You can't do a sudden necro because then she dies as well. It's kind of tricky to pull it off.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. It is Essence Garb. So this is another Dominion, and it's a lot more toned down compared to Favor. It's 2 decay, with a base effect of enchanted creature gets +1 attack and +1 health. And then there is a Dominion effect that increases that by +2/+2. So with Dominion, this has +3 attack and +3 health. Without Dominion, it has +1/+1. And I thought the best comparison you could make this with is a Stag Heart. You play 1 Stag Heart that's +1/+1. You play 2 Stag Hearts on the same unit. It's +4, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a +4/+4, but that requires 2 cards. This thing is almost like a double Stag Heart, but for 1 card. And I think it's pretty cool with the Dominion.
Yeah, I guess I can just start again. I think this is Dominion done right. Like, for me, Dominion should work like this. Like, there's a balance bar, and let's say the balance bar is 0. But when it's not Dominion, it should be at -1 or -2. and when you have Dominion, it should be +1 or +2. So when you don't have Dominion, it's playable, but not very efficient. And when you have Dominion, it's very efficient. And I think this is one of those Dominion cards that that kind of nail that power increase and such. So I like how SS Garb is. I like Favored, which is like -3 and then spikes to like
Infinity.
no, not infinity, but like +5. I would say it's a +5, which is way too much. But we are not talking about Favored now. But I think SS Garb is a good Dominion card. It has the right power level.
All right, Franconi.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on. I don't think it will get played too much because usually Decay's units are already beefy enough with many 4 health and 5 health. And yeah, I don't really see this scroll fitting Decay's playstyle.
You say that, but aren't, for example, but they are often really slow, but still, undead decks often are quite squishy. Couldn't they have a use for this one?
I'd say probably not, because what you want with undead decks is essentially pulling off these rattle him combos. So you want to essentially play Essence Garb on something that is about to attack. That's the one. What did I say?
I don't
Rattle him.
Oh, never mind. That's the wrong one. But Restless Bones. So really, this applies to any enchantment in the game. You play an enchantment on something when it's about to attack to get at least guaranteed value from it. I would never play an enchantment and then say, okay, maybe next turn he can attack because now he has 4 health and he will survive a burn. I don't think that's worthwhile because they can then use another removal and then benefit because they're trading 2 for 2 on a unit that you've invested in and clearly want to attack.
What was the cost for Essence Garb?
2 enchantment. 2 decay. So you play this on the Blade Husk. That's now a 4-cost 6/3 without Dominion, and with Dominion it becomes an 8/4 with Relentless. And
Not that I know how competitive it will be, but after this set, it wouldn't surprise me if some people try to do a Dominion deck that use Decay and Order, and
that I could see.
This would most likely be in that, because it's definitely worth running.
It's actually pretty cheap to run in, so if your base deck is kind of Order, and you're splashing into Decay for these Dominion scrolls, and a lot of the Dominion scrolls in Decay that are decent are actually pretty
Blade
cheap.
Husk and Bughound.
Yeah, you have those two at 2 cost, and they're pretty easy to splash in, as opposed to something like a Neuro, or the Wings Axe Dude, or whatever she's called.
Wings Cleaver.
Wings Cleaver. There's another, I think, Dominion dude.
It's a female, no?
Are you
Yeah,
thinking,
all the Wings dude.
If you think of high cost, are you thinking about K?
Aside from K, is there anything but... Let's see.
Yeah, we have the Wing Spear, and then we have the Royal Inspiration.
Oh, okay, those are also pretty cheap, actually. But it's harder to splash in a Royal Inspiration into a Decay deck than splashing Essence Garb into an Order deck.
What is mostly awkward with Royal Inspiration in this deck is like what is going to be your knight in
Yeah.
this deck? Like aging knight ?
Sure, that could actually work. But I think base as an Order deck, because then you can kind of go high up to K even. And then your cheapest Decay scroll is 2 or less. And they all have Dominion. And that would probably be pretty decent.
Alright.
Right, next one is Pack Husk. So he's a 3 decay undead with 3 attack, 3 countdown, and 4 health. And when he is destroyed, you draw 1 scroll. So we'll start off with you, Ninanas. What do you think about this guy?
I think the scroll is really good. Just its stats are amazing, and on top of that, it gets a draw effect.
Sorry to butt in, but really with 3 countdown, his stats are amazing.
He's a 3 cost with 4 health. I mean, you play him as essentially a wall in most cases.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I would say his stats are fine or good, but I would not say amazing.
Yes, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit too much, but when I just think, oh, yeah, I really like his scroll.
Its face looks like a pineapple. That's why Netherlands likes it.
I mean,
But
I would play this if it had 2 countdown and same stat line, no additional effect. I would easily play it. And then
Yeah,
it
but
has
now
essentially +1 countdown for a card draw, so it's a cantrip creature.
like for me, this guy, this is what I feel about it. It is except for it being undead, which has its own perks and not, it is a Inmire Tribesman for 1 more cost. And I feel that 1 more cost should just come from the card draw, honestly. The 1 more attack is not necessary, so I actually think it should have 2 attack and not 3, but that's my opinion.
I think, though, in general, this is the sort of power level I want to see in the game. I actually think the Tribesman could be buffed up back to 3 attack. He used to have it, and because he used to be a reversed switch, essentially, of the pickaxe dude and that growth rebel, whatever he's called. They just switched his stats around. But apparently that was too powerful back then, so they decreased his attack to 2 from 3. But
It's still arguably too powerful. The issue with the Tribesman having free attack is that unlike this guy, he has more time for his free countdown to attack.
yeah,
And
because he's a
it's
2-drop.
very difficult to take him down in time because of his high health with so low cost. But this would be a free drop. So it's more reasonable there. It's just that otherwise I would say this guy should maybe have 3 health, but I'm like, I think it should have 4 health. He serves a good purpose in the undead decks with the 4 health. They kinda need that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, this is something that is probably going to be maybe problematic for some undead decks because you have a lot of 3-cost scrolls indicate they are good and that you kind of want to run. You have Brain Lies, you have Soul Seal, you have the Ilmai Rot Eater, you have the Harvester, and now you have the Pack Husk. In my opinion, the Pack Husk is a must include in those sort of undead decks, and you might actually want to remove something to make room for him. Because you're going to see some really wonky curves if you try to pull in all of these really good 3-cross scrolls.
Honestly, that's just me, and I'm not like #1 player in the world. But I often feel that people put a little too much faith, not faith, but what should I say?
Out?
Credit to the curve of your deck. Your curve of the deck is important, yes, but like many times I can run with a high spike in 4 drops and like 3 guys in 5 drop or whatever. Because I don't really need the other 5 drops. I just need all of this bunch of 4 drops and so on.
And I think you play late game order.
Yeah, it is in those some of those late game orders, but even when I do some other decks, I'm more looking like who are the dudes I'm going to use and what resource am I going to go? Am I going to go to like 6 resource or am I going to like stay at 4? What do I need? I do not necessarily look, okay, my curve needs to be smooth and nice. Like,
I mean, it doesn't have to be smooth, but there is a benefit, especially in a more aggro-oriented deck, where if you have a smoother curve, you can more reliably predict when you're going to get a 3-drop and again a 4-drop, and you want to have the ratio as such that you don't get too many 4-drops before turn 4 when you can actually play them, and you don't get too few 2-drops so you can't play one on turn 2. And I think it's more important in a more aggro deck. And if this is put in an aggro deck, in an aggro undead deck, then you'll be a bit tight on space, I think, in the 3-drop category.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you're running like Undead or whatever, I don't really see the big problem having like 12 free drops, if you want. Go for that, if you ask me, but...
We shall see, we shall see. But shall we move on, I think, now, to the actual spoiler scrolls? Because we are done here, I think.
Well,
The spoiler scrolls are the cooler ones, I think, because they have some pretty neat features and mechanics and things like that.
how many more scrolls is that in the case? Just so I know.
I think it's 5, no?
Yeah,
It's
I think
6 of them,
5.
actually.
Oh.
Then it's more than I am thinking of. Okay, let's hear what you have.
Yeah, there were ones released just before the stream.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Okay, some of these are those that have been released
Yeah,
on the
it's great.
Okay,
ScrollsTalks.com.
you will have to link those newly released in that case.
I think Nananas is actually doing that in the chat right now, as we speak.
If you talk about Twitch chat, I'm not there. You have to
Okay,
do it
can-
in TeamSpeak or something.
I'm going to explain the scrolls, and I think you're going to recognize some of these.
Most likely not. Better to just link it.
All right, someone link him while we're at this. So first off, we have. Let's do this. We have Controlled Lightning. It's a 3 energy spell that was revealed a couple of weeks ago. And target unit you control makes a ranged attack dealing damage equal to its countdown.
What was the cost again?
3
Great.
energy.
Yeah. I think this one, like, I haven't obviously tested it. No one has.
Nope.
But I think it's just I think it's just balanced and fine. Like, yes, you can do quite a lot of damage with this one with certain kind of units like Clock Library and Solemn Giant and so on. But it do demand that combo conditional, like you can't just spontaneously do it on your own. So for free cost and having that kind of condition that you need a partner for it, I think it's balanced and it's probably going to be useful. Is it useful enough? I don't know. That's my opinion.
All right, Frank Coney, what are your thoughts on Controlled Lightning?
I like it. I think it can.
Yeah, I think you have to repeat because your
Your audio is really awful.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna leave you there for a second, Franconi. We're gonna return to you once you fixed your mic. Let's go over to Nananas. What are your thoughts on this?
Or
I think it's a worse Violent Dispersal, actually. It's cheaper, yes, but I still think it's worse.
You make it sound like Violent Dispersal is awful.
Yeah,
Not
no,
awful.
the Violent Dispersal is good, but this one is even, yeah, it's, how do you say it? Yeah, I just think it's, yeah, a worse Violent Dispersal.
Something to keep in mind is that this would probably be physical damage. So in a way, it's a spell that allows you to bypass magic armor units, which might be valuable. But then on the other hand, it will then be blocked by armor, which might be annoying. Because something like Electrify and Supercharge, which are in the game, they do physical damage.
I am curious if this one. I don't think so. But I am a bit curious if this one takes into consideration the trait that the dude had. Like, if it's used on Canonetta, will it be a piercing range attack too? I don't think so.
I think Atmas has said that no, because the spell is saying what sort of attack it's doing. It's making a ranged attack. All ranged attacks do not have piercing. So if it was worded it makes a ranged attack with piercing, then yeah. It depends on how you interpret the scroll,
Yes,
literally.
but it's very true. The way it's worded, it says it makes a range attack. It doesn't necessarily say the unit make a range attack.
True. Well, it says target unit you control, it makes a range attack. They've done weird wording with the target unit you control.
The wording in scrolls in general is weird several times.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is super cool because you could kind of you could replace almost the Solemn Giant in an energy structure deck. You have these energy structures which naturally have rather high countdowns, like state machines, clock libraries. And I thought of playing Thought Trap. You play Thought Trap on a state machine, you're doubling up its attack, from 4. I mean, it's countdown from 4 to 8, and that's a good thing on a state machine because you want as high countdown as possible. And then you play Control Lightning for what is essentially a hasted Solemn Giant attack. And that costs less than a Solemn Giant combo wombo.
Yeah, and yeah.
Is my microphone working?
Yes,
It's working now.
You're back! Yay!
Now give us your opinion. Enlighten us.
Yes.
Well, I like it, but I think it should have some sort of draw scroll effect. Maybe, for example, if damage dealt is 4 or more, draw a scroll, because then it can really be as good as Machine Chant or Burn, because both of those help you gain scrolls or resources. But this one, just for the removal, energy has some better removal.
Well, I don't think that will happen, as that is not really Energy's theme. But
Well, there is Burn.
Ramping is kind of.
What?
Ramping in energy is kind of a theme with all these new permanent energy.
Yeah, ramping resources, but not the card draw. Like they cantrips in that sense. It's not really
Some
their
people
theme.
have been saying that there's been too many card draw mechanics and effects in the game, and I kind of agree.
I was also about to say, like, I don't. Just as people don't want just taxing to be slapped on stuff for nerf, I also don't want cards just to get card draw for buffs.
Yeah, it's a lazy way of buffing something up. And I mean, if it was an additional effect that wasn't card draw, that would be cool. Like maybe you gain current energy next turn.
Or maybe reduced countdown also.
Yeah, that is actually a cool idea.
Yeah, that I could get.
Yeah, I really like this scroll idea. I just think that energy has better removal, because this one is not guaranteed always be able to play it and deal the damage.
To put it this way, to just put it into perspective here. If this was 2 cost, it's very much competing with Spark. Because almost anything has to count on. The downside would be that Spark can target anything, while this can only target what is in front. But at the same time, you can increase the damage a lot with this guy. So I'm just saying, if it was 2 cost, I think many would kind of argue that it might be a bit strong. So maybe it should be 2 cost, but I personally think it is a nice and balanced card at 3. Will it see played all the time? Not necessarily, but I can see it be played in certain decks. Especially I can see it in like structure decks that have all these high countdown units and structures. They can definitely get use of this guy.
Yeah, and then you have stuff that naturally increase countdown, like the Fulmination Conduit. After a couple of turns, that might have 5, 6 countdown.
Like they have.
That's nice.
They have their Solemn Giant, Automata Forge, State Machine, Clock Library, Fulmination Conduit, and so on. Like they have a lot of options to deal good damage with this thing.
I mean, most cases, I think getting 4 damage from Control Lightning is going to be the case. You're going to play it directly on a State Machine, or you're going to play it on a Solemn Giant, I guess. Solemn Giant is the best case scenario. I think that's my problem with it. In the most common scenario, you're paying 3 energy for 3 or 4 kind of avoidable damage that has to go in a line. And it's a bit wonky, but we'll see. Might be worthwhile playing. Next scroll is one of the new scrolls that was revealed by Blinky today. And it is Raid. It's a 2 growth spell, and it activates pillage traits on any units you control. So, the Overlord, you might remember that energy pillage kind of spell that we discussed back when the contest was still around. And it was pretty much exactly the same thing, only it was called pillage.
Yeah,
And
but that is what I told you also when we were talking those contests. Like they've done this like every contest. They take scrolls that were in the contest and make their own kind of things with them. Which
and
I do not oppose that. I just find it funny.
I mean, I don't think they've taken it because as an idea, it seems like they might have thought of this up on their own independently, and that's unfortunate for the guy who submitted this super cool idea. But at the same time, I'm glad this is in the game because I was super hyped about that submission. I really wanted it in the game. I think I would prefer it in energy over growth, because energy has a lot of powerful pillage effects, and I suppose that is the reason it is in growth. Because you have that new energy enchantment that gives you this ramp, and if they also had access to a 2 energy spell that immediately activated pillage, it might get too out of hand in energy. Because as a growth spell, it would encourage splashes, I think. And that would be really interesting, seeing some sort of growth energy pillage deck.
But growth has Vengeful Nature.
Yes,
So
they have
maybe,
that.
yes, I don't know.
But
It
that
has
damages the
mixed.
Vator. That isn't as good, I think, as it would be in energy with that extractor device. But yeah, I'm super hyped about this.
Yeah. I think it's good. What I don't have too much in the terms of it being overpowered and why, or too weak or why, because I think it's probably rather balanced, and it's probably gonna be in played sometimes. What I am more feeling is that they probably need to reword it a little bit with because right now it says activated, and I'm like, do you mean to the end of the turn? Like, you need to get more attack? Do they have it until the end of the turn, or is this just activated and then gone at the same turn? Or
Yeah.
that is like my thought about it. So I will just make the wording more clear. Otherwise, I just feel the card. It's balanced and nice, and we're probably gonna see it played from time to time.
All right, Franconi.
I really like it, especially its flavor text.
Which
But-
you guys will probably be putting on it in a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. And
Exactly.
Nananas, do you have any thoughts on it?
It just has to be tested. I really don't know anything about this scroll.
All right, then let's move on to one of these pillage gain attack. And this was also revealed by Blinky today. It's Stone Recluse. He's a creature. He looks human, but he might not be. I'm not sure. He's 3 growth, 3/3 stat line with pillage plus 3 attack until next attack. So this might be worded this way to kind of work with that previous scroll. The previous one, Raid, says any pillage traits on your unit's control are activated. That works fine with the way pillage is worded on the Stone Recluse, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's more cards out there except for this one with pillage. Anyway.
So this thing, he seems cool to me. I really like him.
Does this mean that if he gets pillage, then the following turn he will attack for 6 and then gets 3 attack again? Is that what the
Who knows?
is that what the until next attack means?
I would say, think of it like, what is it called? Ironclad Reaver, that guy who becomes invincible. It's probably gonna work like that, but with free attack instead of the invisibility.
Well, invisibility cannot stack, because you can either be invincible or not. But an attack value? I mean, he doesn't say pillage, Stone Recluse has 6 attack until the next attack. Which is why maybe it can stack up if you play the previous scroll. Like if you play 2 raid scrolls, this might have 9 attack.
Now I'm following what you people are talking about. You talk about activating the pillage and then also having him attack. Okay, yeah. If he attack, like I haven't played this, but this is what I assume will happen. If you attack with him first, and and he get that +3 attack, so he's at 6 attack. If you then use the previous card to activate his pillage, he's going to go to 9 attack. If it doesn't go to 9 attack, I'm going to talk a lot about Mojang logic again.
Yeah.
And how it doesn't make sense. Because that is what should happen, if you ask me at least. Because just activating the pillage doesn't mean he's attacking, it just means you have activated pillage.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah. There's this whole thing going with Microsoft, and this scroll is promoting the Xbox, so that's something to talk about, right?
What? How?
The scroll art, the guy has an Xbox logo, no?
Oh, I see now.
I mean,
Well, it's the original Xbox.
This is an Xbox logo.
I didn't notice at first that this guy is jumping. This guy must be tiny.
He's holding a massive sledgehammer, if that's the case.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that is a sledgehammer.
Holy shit, this guy is small. Like,
He's either small or the hammer is super big. We don't know.
Either way, I'm pretty sure he's small. Like I'm more comparing like his head to the rest of his body, because I thought that what is his feet and such. I thought that was his shoulders, but then I was like, wait a moment, where is the rest of his body? And I'm like, holy shit, that is his body. That's all there is to it. He's some kind of pygmy guy.
He's a kinfolk dwarf, perhaps. They're finally adding dwarves to the games.
This guy, I can definitely see. I can see some combos with this guy while that demands some cards, but still, if we're gonna have, I can see this guy being played in a deck where you're trying to make, oh my god, what is it called? Fierce tactics work.
Yes.
Where as you can have him increase the attack and then have relentless for his 6 attack next time. And but regarding if he's balanced, I think he's balanced. Like, this is what I often see in free cost. Like, free cost for me in power should be like having this stat line and then some kind of bonus, and this is a fair bonus to have.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the previous spell that activates Pillage, you can actually make a really interesting kind of growth aggro deck. You have Wetland Ranger, and that might possibly also stack up with multiple raids. You have the Stone Recluse, and I'm not sure what other sort of Pillage creature you would play. Maybe you'd play Vengeful Vaetors for a little bit of ramp. And then you play all these raids, you buff up his attack, you have several of these out, you buff up their attack to 9, and then you play Relentless, and yeah.
I'm curious.
You can do some crazy combos.
We will just have to see, but I'm curious if this +3 attack is just him getting +3 attack, or if it will be an effect. Like, he has an effect on the side saying he gets it.
If it is an effect, it would probably stack then.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it will stack regardless. So.
Would you guys run this scroll over Breaker?
Yes, I was going to say that, by the way. He's kind of comparison to a Breaker here. Breaker has this, you get +1 attack, but yes, it's permanent whenever you attack something, when you hit into something. And I think I'd rather have +3 attack by running into an idol, because in an aggro growth deck, I think I would like to run into an idol with him.
Yeah, 6 attack. Wow, it can help you take out really big units.
I was about to comment with your question that would you run this over a Breaker, that you cannot run over something that you don't have in the deck.
Yeah, I don't think actually Breakers are in most growth aggro decks.
Like, I've seen him sometimes, but it's a rare sight. Like, these days at least, Bloody Junkyard is more common than Breaker.
I mean, really, the question is, would you run this over the Terran Brute?
To that, nope. I would say
Terran Brute. No. It has 4 health, so.
I might actually. I think Just switch out 3 Terran Brutes, put them in, maybe make room for the raid, and find another pillage unit. Maybe they have another pillage creature coming up in growth, which is also attack focused. Then you could make it work, I think.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yes. So next up we have Resonance Sword. This was also revealed on ScrollsTalks.com a couple of weeks ago, I think. 1 order enchantment, resonance, +2 attack until the end of turn. So let's start off with you, Overlord. What are your thoughts on this relatively simple enchantment?
I think it's fine if it costs 2. Cost 1 and it's too strong. But cost 2 and I would say it's sort of a champion ring, but with the conditional that it needs spells. And like it's not too hard to fulfill that conditional at least one time. So I would say it should maybe even be like 3 cost. But I would say let's start at 2 cost and see how it performs from there. But with 1 cost, it's too strong. That's my opinion.
I would also think I want to see this on live first, though. A lot of these I am unsure about their power level, and I think the best way is to just see it on live, release a balance patch when they come back from vacation 2 months later. But if this were to be changed, I'd rather it be 1 order and have it resonance +1 attack until the end of turn. If only to keep it in line with the other resonant spells, because they are all 1 order. The resonant helm, I think, is just 1 order as well.
Yeah, my issue with that, I've seen that suggestion. It's a fair suggestion. I'm just feeling like maybe, but I sort of feel that these you have to consider that when something costs 1, yes, it costs 1, and that is cheap, but when something costs 1, it's actually more of a cost for you that you're spending a scroll to play. So that is why, for example, a lot of previous 1-cost cards that have been buffed these days, like the old Sinmark Zealot and so on, they were sort of balanced for the cost, but it's just that they are so weak. And it's not really the same. I'm just feeling, I'm not really keen. I rather increase the cost for the card rather than decreasing the damage. But I'm gonna let the other people talk now.
Alright, so the Nanas of Franconi. You guys, what do you think about this?
I think Order has a lot of attack buffs now, and it's hard to choose which ones are the best now.
Something that is worth pointing out, by the way, is that this would actually work on structures, including mangonels.
That is something, everything is working on structure. Favored works on structure. This works on structures. Like almost every new increasing damage thing works on structure. I'm really starting to question, why did we nerf focus again if we're just gonna introduce it again?
That's true though, Overlord, that's true.
I think they want to increase the power level.
I was behind the nerf to focus. I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this, and they are like, let's introduce 3 new. I'm like, oh right. Now I'm not sure what we are doing.
I think they just want to increase the power level, make games even more dynamic, like more board wipes, more creatures that you can play and not be worried about them being board wiped because they do shit when they die or immediately when they come into play. And just generally make it more explosive, because everything will die, everything will have mega attack buffs, and every faction will have access to all these super cards. I think that's more or less what they're doing, and I approve.
Yeah, I could discuss a lot about the whole direction of the game, but then we deviate too much on the card.
That'll be something for next week's Scrolls Talks.
Yeah, sure.
But let's move on to the other one, and this was released yesterday.
I'm pretty sure we only asked, was it Franconi or Nananas we asked here? Like, I'm pretty sure only one guy gave his feedback, and me.
Oh, right.
Let's
Getting a bit lost here. Was it Franconi and Nananas who has...
Yes, I gave some feedback.
Alright, Franconi?
Yeah.
Are you here?
So the scroll, I like it. I think that a new... Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think that there's going to be a new order type of deck focusing on having maybe less units and more attack buffs, because with all these attack buffs, all you need is a relentless unit attacking, and the order definitely has those. And then with these resonant swords and all these combinations that you can do to get them to insane attacks, you can wipe rows and instantly take out idols. So yeah, I think that's what they are going to be building with all these mega attack scrolls.
Then we can move on. Next, so I think I agree with you, Franconi, but we'll see when all these scrolls are released. So these are the scrolls that Blinky showed off yesterday in a YouTube video. First off, we have something without an art, but this is an actual scroll that was given to him by Atmas. It's the 4 energy structure assault battery with 4 attack, 2 countdown, and 3 health. It has a ranged attack, and on top of that, it has surge. X random structures you control have their countdown decreased by 1. So kind of to explain how this works, if you have 6 energy, you play this out, 2 structures on your side will have their countdown reduced by 1. So it works just like if you were to play a surge spell.
Could you haste it by just playing this with 6 resources?
No, it can only ever reduce a structure's countdown by 1. It works like Thunder Surge. Thunder Surge can't have all its damage clump up on one unit.
Can it really?
Sand eruption.
Can it really target itself?
Yes, because it doesn't say other structures you control.
That is something I'm going to test, because that is really funky, man.
So if it works like that, and there's not Mojang logic involved here making it weird, you'd play this at 5 energy and it would become a 4, 1 countdown, 3 health structure with range attack. So yeah, I mean, I like this thing. I like giving structure decks just beefier attack things so they can attack into idols and finish the games much faster. And they don't have to wait to 10 energy to play a Solemn Giant. I'm not so sure about the counter reduction thing, but I did this comparison with Blessing of Haste. Blessing of Haste is 1 card, 1 order to reduce a unit's countdown by 1. This means that every additional energy you have is a free Blessing of Haste for structures on your side. Kinda.
I bloody love you, Squiddy. Like,
Why?
I like that word. Why? Oh my God, why?
None, of course you love it. Go ahead.
What's going on?
That is crazy.
No, it's just that I'm never able to predict what you compare it to. Like, you can have like a partisan, and you're like, so partisan, I kind of compare it to a witch doctor. Because okay, I personally, when it comes to assault battery, I sort of compare it to Oculus Cannon. For me, but there is major differences. For one, it costs 1 more and has 1 less health. So what has it going for it that the Oculus don't have?
User
Well,
entered your channel.
holy shit, someone just entered. Anyway.
Whoops. Sorry, I didn't know you guys were.
What the hell are you doing here, Xylus?
Sorry.
Well, welcome on to ScrollsTalks, Xylus. We're happy to have you here.
Good!
Oh my
Good.
god.
We have a lot of people now. Anyway, I was about to give my comparison here to Oculus Cannon and Assault Battery. With that, it costs 1 more, and has, but it has 1 less health. So what does it have going for it? And Nananas, keep calm with your keyboard.
I'm sorry.
And I would say, for one, it counts down on its own, unlike Oculus Cannon, so that is a plus. And then the big part is the that search effect, and that is very much what is going to rely on it. Like, can this search effect really carry it? And I really don't know how good you can utilize this search effect. Because what you have to, for example, remember, unlike a Oculus Cannon, is that many use Oculus Cannon with combination of Bombard. You can't do it with Assault Battery unless you do some kind of, what is that called, fulmination conduit.
That might actually be something people will do with a lot of these search
Yeah.
scrolls.
Like it's possible. Silas, please.
What?
This is like a small classroom, and the overlord needs to talk to all the students. So please, just keep it quiet.
Like, oh my god, please. Anyway, I'm just saying, Bombard combo is a big thing with Oculus Cannon, and you cannot do it with Assault Battery. So that is a kind of drawback. So again, it's very much come down to how much use can you do from this search effect, and we sort of have to see. So my opinion how balanced it is kind of unknown. Oh, how strong or weak this card is.
All right, Franconi, what are your thoughts on Assault Battery?
I think it's cool that they are trying to buff mono energy structures, because this is clearly an only strictly mono energy structure scroll, or at least just some sort of structured deck.
Yeah, I don't see this being played in other decks.
So let's just see if they can come out with more of these mess scrolls.
All right, and how about you, Nananas?
I think it's funny that useless contraption has more HP than this.
Yeah, I mean, it runs into the problem that a lot of the 3 health creatures that cost 4 runs into. It can relatively easily be removed. But on the other hand, this has a comes into play effect. And it might be pretty potent, and it might even count itself down to 1 countdown. And that is also pretty good. So we're going to have to see, I think, as people play around with this. If it's too weak, yeah, go ahead.
If I am to make a prediction, I think if the search is good, it's going to take a lot of time, because the search effect is honestly very awkward. Because you don't really want to, you touched this on your like yesterday thing, like you don't really want to count down everything. There's only certain structures you sort of want to count down, and this do not help either in like combination with that with that final
that is
spark
true.
thing,
Control lightning.
Yeah, control lightning. Like it doesn't synergize with that either. Like
it's anti-synergy.
And you do not control which structures you are going to count down. So it's a really weird one that is. I don't think it's going to be played immediately. Is it going to be picked up ever? Maybe, but it's going to take time, is what I will say.
Yeah, you have to you can't just push this into a energy structure deck, because like you said, it would be anti-synergy with State Machine. It would be anti-synergy with the Fulmination Conduit, which is kind of the only thing that can kind of let you do a play after you play Surge. And that is really bad. So because of that, you're going to have to try and devise this other energy deck with a lot of countdown energy structures that you want to count down. And I brought this up yesterday on the stream, and there's actually not that many energy structures that you want to count down where you want to immediately count them down. Because they have 3 countdowns, so if you play Assault Battery when they're at 2 countdown, it doesn't actually do anything. You want to have them at 1 countdown and somehow pull off this mega play where your ether pumps are going off and your clock library counts down to 0, and that would be an amazing play for Assault Battery. But I'm not sure that's going to happen a lot.
This is the first structure that deals damage on a straight line with a normal countdown.
Yes, it is. I mean, that's what I was excited about it.
And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool because the opponent has to choose when to get into the same row as Assault Battery and when not to get on the same row as it. So, yeah.
I mean, something like the Oculus Cannon, generally it won't be attacking without an Overdrive or a Bombard. This, on the other hand, will be. So it will be picking away at their idols unless they put up blockers. And for that reason, it's probably going to be played, but I'm not sure how or in what sort of deck. But alright, let's move on to the next one. It was also shown off on Blink's YouTube channel yesterday. It's the Expedition Guard. The reorder creature with 2 attack, 2 countdown, and 4 health. An Expedition Guard has +1 attack for each non-human creature your opponent controls. So this includes undead, it includes automatons, beast.
Everything that's not a human.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of actually all the subtypes that aren't human. Gravelocks, they were the ones I'm trying to think of. And here's an interesting thing that you could actually do with Expedition Guard. If you play Shroud of Unlife on an opponent human, Expedition Guard will get a buff. So yeah,
Wait, what?
That's
would be
that's next level tactics.
getting
Wait,
pretty
Wow.
top plays if you
no,
can
no,
do that.
you don't know that. You only
It would be an
have
undead.
theory. Yeah, but isn't it that it adds undead?
Yeah, but it says for each non-human creature. It's a human, but it's also undead. So it is a non-human creature.
And that is why I say I'm not entirely sure.
We shall check it out in the Scrolls Mythbusters in 2 months when this is released.
I mean, that is definitely possible. And like, yes, it's just a funky, funny thing. So I'm not saying like we need to test this for the sake of if it's broken.
It's gotta be meta breaking.
But I'm. It's more like. I think you are right. I think he would be buffed from that, but I'm not entirely sure because he might checking is this human or not, and he do not care if it is human and something else.
I mean, because what Takamonkey has brought up here is, does that mean that knights aren't human?
Yeah, because that is why I'm not really feeling that, because yeah, undead is something else, but sometimes, like, they don't have primary subtype and they don't have primary type and subtype. They just have subtype. Everything is subtype. Like, it doesn't matter if you're undead or a knight, it's the same.
I mean, you can kind of compare it to another creature which has the wording human creature, and that is the Fangstride bear.
Dumbledore is happy that Squiddy compared this to the Fang Bear.
Because that thing says when your opponent has a human creature, this gains X. And if you play a Shroud of Unlife on a human creature, it still counts as human for the purposes of the bear, but it also counts as undead for the purpose of Urva.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's actually.
I think it would actually trigger this Expedition Guard if you played Shroud of Unlife.
Nah, honestly, this is what I think will happen. I think he will trigger from it, but I am then going to start a debate that he shouldn't, because the thing is as I said, they do not differentiate the kind of subtypes from each other. So if he triggers from that, he should trigger from like Knight and Ward and so on. Because they are not part of the human subtype.
Yeah, we're gonna have Xylus here chiming in.
So yeah, you're reading chat. So, applying basic logic to this...
Not basic logic, we need Mojang logic.
Only triggers if none of the subtypes equal human. That means if the creature is a goat demon sorcerer from hell human, then it would be a human and would not buff the Expedition Guard.
The hell are you talking about?
It's basically saying if something has a human subtype among its thing, it counts as a human. So I think that's a good point. It doesn't say each non-human subtype creature you control. It says each human creature. It doesn't specify that it has to be a human subtype. So maybe there's some sort of in-game logic of defining humans.
There's no difference between like race and class subtypes or something. Like a human subtype has exactly the same value as a knight subtype, for example, or an undead subtype, and they can all coexist.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, because I'm not sure what you're basing, because this interaction do not exist in the game currently. What if you're thinking of like Fangbear here? The thing is, Fangbear is only searching for a specific subtype if it exists. This would search if a subtype do not exist on a unit. And just because you add something, like Squid is suggesting adding undead, that do not mean that the human disappear. So the undead would not count. It should not count, but it would not surprise me if it actually counts. But I would say that do not apply to the logic in the game.
I mean, if it's coded as simply as you can code it, then it would not. Then an undead.
We're gonna change the subject there. I think
Yeah.
people are getting
Please
confused.
suddenly change subject.
But I see the point that you're making there, Xylus. Let's move on.
Wait,
The last.
but what beast is being
We
killed
haven't
in the
talked
scroll
about
art?
the card, bro.
Didn't we? Okay, let's
No,
talk about the actual
you
card.
Like, we can do Shroud of Unlife interaction. Now, let's move on.
Alright, so basically, I think in most scenarios, this will be a 4-2-4 for 3, at least. And that's gonna be awesome.
That's gonna be too strong, is what
Yeah.
I say.
But
'Cause you
guys,
can't play
what
around
beast
it.
is being killed in the scroll art?
What?
Oh, it's a dog!
Yeah, exactly.
They've confirmed dogs!
Exactly, dude.
It's probably gonna be some kind of mecha dog. But to keep on talking about this card, I feel he's too strong. Yes, he's not game breaking in the game strong, but he is too strong. He should not so easily become a 4-2-4 for free cost. This is like just vanilla, blatantly too strong. It's like some have said you can kind of play around it, and I just feel, dude, you do not really play around it. Like, it's still like you can play around Fangbear. You don't really play around Fangbear. You either ignore the Fangbear or take out the Fangbear. You don't play around his ability really, unless you're running some kind of automaton deck. If you have automaton deck, then sure, you have option to play around. But and for this guy, it's gonna probably be the same, and I feel he needs a nerf. And I would say nerf his attack either to 1 or 0, so it's much harder to increase it. I like him having 4 health, because honestly there is no free drop creature for order that has 4 health. There's 2 drop and 4 drop and so on, but there's no free drop. So I would kind of enjoy if they had a spot with a 4 health creature for free cost.
I mean, something else you could do is have him have reduced attack for each human creature your opponent controls. Kind of balance it out. So you can actually play around it if you have a growth aggro deck. You can have some humans in there. You can just decide to play more humans for every beast you put out.
As funny as that sounds, I would actually say no to that, because that becomes too much of a math for people. Like, you cannot be arsed with the math there. Okay, how many humans does he have, and how many non-humans? If I add all of this together, like, you cannot be arsed. Like, just keep it rather simple.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah,
Alright.
the math is already hard enough in when you play late game order. That math is really hard, so we don't want more math.
Trust me, as I tested on the test server, like, the math is not easier now when we have this mercenary guy and all kind of shenanigans.
Yeah,
going
they
on.
should just have it so attack is squared by 2 minus 3 if there's a non-human, and then that would be pretty cool.
So anyway, that was like my input. You other guys, Francone and Ananas, your input.
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Go for
Thank
it,
you,
Franconi.
Francone, you first.
Didn't I just say something about this scroll?
Yes, that is the point of this show.
Okay, well, this scroll is holding a very cool sword.
Wow.
Because, yeah. And
is that a sword? Is that not a halberd?
What?
Isn't that a halberd?
Let's discuss the scroll, people.
Well, we are discussing the scroll.
Okay, if you...
It's also a weird combination of halberd and spear and, I don't know.
If you're not gonna discuss necessarily like how the scroll interact in the game like that, I guess I have one more thing to say about it, or at least I had. Now I am blacking out it. I sort of forgot.
Okay, I'm just gonna say I think this guy is gonna be a human mercenary. That is my prediction in regards to its subtype.
Well, probably.
Guy, he kind of reminds me of that other mercenary dude, which is also really awesome. That seems to be the trend with the mercenaries. They're super good, but you have to pay for them, gain their services or something. I don't know. All right, let's just move on. And if you remember that thing,
Now I remember.
all right, go ahead.
That was not necessarily, but it's just that I just have to say I love this coming set here because in like previous sets, whenever I talk about how a energy card, whatever, is too strong, they're like, "Oh, you're just an order player. You just want to nerf everything that is not order." Dude, this set has so many overpowered order scroll. I just can shit on all this order scroll, and they cannot say I'm biased about it. I just love this.
Maybe you're reverse biased.
Yeah,
Xylus, don't talk. You're not supposed to be here.
Yes, Iris.
I'm a ghost in the machine.
I just like how he came here like, oops, are you here? Well, I'm gonna stay as well.
That's how I am, sorry.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, let's move on. Then.
Well, Xylus, what are your thoughts on Expedition Guard?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I like him from the point of power level. He seems relatively close to Fangbeer in power level. However, I don't like that they basically kinda punish you for playing non-humans because I want more non-humans in the game. That's my idea of that.
It's kind of fair because Order is punished by playing only humans. If you have something like Bloodline Taint or Fangstride Bear, this is kind of like them getting back at all these other factions.
If you run this in an
What are you
Order
talking
matchup,
about? What are you talking about? We showed the world before with our royal banner. Like when we got the royal banner, everyone trembled in fear. They were like, holy shit! What do I have for humans in my deck? I need to put humans now that they got the royal banner.
I mean, this does what the Royal Banner.
We've been retaliating before.
Expedition Guard does what Royal Banner attempted to do successfully. And I like that because we needed a Royal Banner that was playable.
Do all the new order scrolls have something to do with attack buffs?
What?
Yes, actually,
well,
no, except for Oppressor's Guard.
the Mystic Storm thing.
And that one. But actually, everything else has an attack buff.
I'm pretty sure not everything else has a attack buff, but I'm not gonna be arsed and go into and check it all out. But yes, a shit ton has attack buff. They like attack buffs.
Oh yeah, there's also the Scout.
And look, yeah, I'm also saying like yes, Order got like I don't know now if it is like 6 attack buff or whatever, but it's not like other factions don't have attack buff. I think the one who's honestly lack it the most is like Decay because they go more for poison route or whatever in that. But the other factions also has a bunch of attack and stuff.
Well, I mean, Decay got the relatively decent and actually balanced Dominion enchantment. But you actually want to put it on something that will... I kind of forgot to mention this, but that Decay enchantment is really good on an Eager Scryer. There you go.
Yeah, that I know.
All right.
I know. So are we ever going to actually move on?
Yes, this is the last scroll. It's Swirling Smoke, and it's a Decay scroll. And this is kind of like the Oppressor's Grasp. You target a creature and connected creatures, and they have their countdown increased by 1, and then any attached enchantments are destroyed. So this is probably best compared to the Unbind. Kinda does similar things, increase the countdown, destroy enchantments, only this doesn't destroy curse or poison. But on the other hand, it affects potentially their entire enemy board. And you might not want to destroy poison or curse if you want to remove an enchantment from your opponent, which makes this a lot better than Unbind in my opinion. And you can somehow get at these warded units if they do bad positioning. So I really like this. Nenanas?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. It's that's a situational scroll. I think I might be wrong, but I don't know.
All right, Franconi.
I think Decay does fairly well against growth, and this scroll is gonna help Decay a lot versus growth because they just usually have their units clumped up, and you just play the swirling smoke, have them all counted up by 1. That's some pretty good value for 2 cost, and also any attack buffs, any Earth and Mirth, Stag Hearts, all gone. So yeah, I think this one is mainly going to help against growth for Decay. I also like the scroll art. It reminds me of a scene in the Hunger Games when there's like some weird fumes.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
They jump into the water. All right,
Yeah.
Xylus, what are your thoughts on this scroll?
You surprised me with that.
Yes.
I'm just here while playing Dota.
I'm not even playing Dota. This is, by the way, it's not objectively better than Unbind as far as I can tell. Because Unbind also removes effects, which this does not do.
But you don't want to remove effects when you play it on your opponent.
Do you not? Because things like Rot Eater is an effect.
No,
Is it not?
it's not. The only effects that actually matter in the game are Curse and Poison.
Come
Okay,
outside,
okay.
Silas. You're a veteran. That's like a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
Try to purify.
I may be the one playing this game the longest in here, but I'm actually not playing it the most.
I mean, that's why I think it is better than Unbind, because when you use it offensively, you don't want to remove Poison, you don't want to remove Curse. Yes, when you use it defensively, so you want to remove a poisoned creature's poisoned, then Unbind would be better, but in Decay you can just kill it off with Soulsteal. So that's why I think Swirling Smoke is just outright better than Unbind.
Hear what I have
Yeah,
to
well,
say
in
about
that
it.
case, it kinda is.
Alright,
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead,
Fantastic
Overlord.
sideboard against the gods. Sorry.
Yeah, I forgive you. Not that I know what you're sorry about. It's a fair comparison and probably one of the best you've done, Squiddy. When it comes to Unbind. Although I will say both Purification and Unbind has, as Silas said, it removes effects. And as Squiddy says, like, well, how often do you need to remove effects? Well, not often, because there's not many effects in play. But that doesn't mean there's going to be more effects at some point. Like many were when it came to Purification a long time ago. Like, how many enchants do you really want to remove? Well, when is that relevant? Well, it's very relevant today when it comes to enchantments. So, and if it becomes relevant, like effects is something people want to tackle. As far as I can remember here, it's honestly only 2 cards that do it, and that is Purification and Unbind. They are the only one that can remove effects.
Doesn't Winged Sorceress remove the last effect or enchantment?
Possibly, but I don't think so. But it's possible.
Why am I asking? I can just check this. I have scrolls in front of me.
Yeah, check it.
Yes, she does.
Okay, so alright, she's a third one then.
But she's pretty weird to use.
Anyway, so my point is, they have their own niche market there, which is not very useful right now, but I think it's kind of fair. If Swirling Smoke should be like 3 cost or whatever, I don't know. Maybe. I think Swirling Smoke it's nice, fine, balanced. What I really don't like, and that comes to Battle Dance, also a card from that we've been talking about before. I am honestly not a fan about this whole that if a creature is connected to another creature through a structure, it counts. I don't feel it should count. Like I can see people's arguments, like, yeah, it should count. They are in a sense connected. I don't feel it, but that's my only minor complaint about this whole thing, but
I think you might as well just go ahead and say target unit and connected units, because it seems a bit weird that, yeah, you say target creature, but somehow this structure is part of the chain. That does seem a bit weird. But at the same time, maybe it is a sort of game limitation.
so it's like is Swirling Smoke going to see play and stuff? But I will say, with all the incoming good enchantments, it's probably going to see play, as it's
Yeah, I mean, you have so many good enchantments.
way one of the best enchantment removals for Decay. Is it, however, like let's compare it to Oppressor's Rule? Is it as good as Oppressor's Rule? In my opinion, no, not
Definitely
really.
not.
Oppressor's Rule, in my opinion, is better than Swirling Smoke, if you ask me. Because the thing is, Swirling Smoke, its flexibility comes with that one more countdown, which it's okay, but it's not that awesome. While Oppressor's Rule is able to Horn of Age a row, and that I think either people understand how powerful that is, or some people will underestimate it a lot. That you can just Horn of Age a row with this card as well.
Yeah, I mean, something that Franconi brought up here, you're going to want to use it against growth, but the countdown increase against growth is the worst effect because they have rallying, which completely kind of negates it.
I will not say that it's like the worst. Like yeah, if they have a rally, but here's a spoiler alert: they do not have a rally every turn.
No, if you're playing against growth player, they always have a rallying in hand when they need it. That's the
But
truth
they
about the game.
The
Like,
best counter.
that is like something I often hear when it comes to a lot of but yeah, okay, Silas, good for you.
What?
That is all. Yeah, I think it's the whole
What?
Happy New Day thing or whatever that he wrote it before me. Happy New Day to you too. Well, that's my opinion.
Ooh, okay.
That's my opinion about Swirling Smoke. It's if there comes a lot of enchantments, it's going to be played. If there's not that many enchantments, it's probably not going to be played.
All right, and with that, we have covered all of the scrolls. That was 18 scrolls in total, and it only took us about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know it took a lot of time, but may I ask one question?
Go ahead.
I guess, if you want to, because this is something I am kind of curious about your thoughts, and that is with Oppressor's Rule and Swirling Smoke. They are both like anti-god decks, anti-god cards, that they can remove any enchantments without targeting the enchanted guy. And now that Order got one and Decay got one, I get a good feeling we're gonna see one for energy and growth as well. I'm just a bit curious what you would brainstorm quickly. How do you think they were going to look like?
Well, the thing I'm thinking here is that you actually wouldn't have something for energy. Because energy actually have Jolt Spark. And I think they're trying to make dealing damage to the enchanted unit instead of removing the enchantment the way that energy deals with enchanted units. So maybe it's some sort of mega version of Jolt Spark, like destroy a random enchanted unit. I would feel that would be slightly energy. It wouldn't be destroy anymore. It would be deal damage to an enchanted unit.
Possibly. I mean, the way Jolt is right now, it cannot deal with god decks. And I'm just feeling like this seems to be sort of the responses to god decks. They give everyone a response card for it.
But if it were to be something in line with the Oppressor's Grasp, it would probably be like a... I could almost imagine a sort of cluster hex-like thing. Like remove all enchantments in this area, 1 magic damage for each enchantment removed. That would feel very energy-like to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
And for growth, it might be something that steals enchantment from the opponent. So you might have a creature which attacks into something, and then you steal all their enchantments, which I would really like to see. I think that would be the most fun way of giving growth an anti-enchantment tool. Like have this dude, maybe have him 2 attack, so you can combo him into Eager to Battle. He's hasted now. He runs into the Mega God unit, he steals all of their enchantments. Now you have a God unit of your own.
Yeah, I would approve of that.
But
We
there's...
really have to go to bed now, okay?
yeah, so we're gonna finish it there.
So-
We have 16 more scrolls to reveal, I think, in the coming weeks, months, depending on when Echoes comes out. So
Years.
we here in Scrolls Talks are gonna continue to discuss them as they are released. So if
On
you're
random
interested,
days.
random days, like whenever I feel
Random
like it,
times.
you know, this isn't a professional stream. We're very casual, you know, we're chill, you know. We don't care about
Professional.
we
When
don't care
someone
about
say
the system and
professional,
times and all that.
Silas, you're not supposed to be here.
Yes, I mean
Yes, I was-
you ruined this super professional stream, just randomly jumping in here, ruining everything. But yeah. So guys, tune in, follow all that shit. Do you guys have any last words? Any plugs
Thank
you'd
you
like
for
to make?
inviting us, Squiddy.
No problem. You're always welcome onto the show. That goes out for anyone really. If you want to come on to Scrolls Talks, just let me know. The only requirement really is that you have a microphone. I just kind of ignored the camera requirement because it's too big of a hassle to set up for me.
Well, just remember that it's let's see, yeah, it's the 1st of April now, at least for me. So we are all about to be fooled.
Yay!
Oh my god. You're right.
So that is what I have to say as my parting words. You are all going to be fooled.
Okay. I might also have an April Fool for you. Haha.
It's probably going to be something so goddamn obvious that they just think you're trolling.
Maybe it won't be. Franconi, any last words?
Yeah, good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, Franconi.
User disconnected from your channel.
Oh, he just popped away. Okay, Nananas.
I know what I would do as an April Fool. I would like take a picture of me and put it on Reddit and write April Fools, bitches, and everyone will be confused.
Yes, that sounds very confusing to me, actually.
And
But
that will be the
you've
point.
given away the thing now.
Yeah,
It's no
yeah,
longer April's Fools.
no, it would be glorious because they don't know how they have been fooled.
I suppose. Okay, never mind. Nananas. Thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for being active in the chat and showing off all of these scrolls.
No
Thank-
problem.
Thank you for showcasing your keyboard.
I am sorry, yes. This is my first time stream, but I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. It's like this podcast is a good opportunity to just jump into streaming because we don't take things seriously. So, but it was all right. We would be more than happy to have you back here. I don't know why I say we. I'm actually the one in charge, but I'd be more than happy to have you back here on Scrolls Talks.
Okay, I'll be happy to be back too.
And Xylus, do you have any parting words, seeing as you're
Oh.
part of the Scrolls Talks podcast?
Hi, my name is Silas. I like to hop into TeamSpeak randomly and see what people are doing. Yeah. Thanks to Squiddy for hosting this amazingly professional thing, which I had no idea was going on. And thanks to everyone who joined him and in chat and stuff. You're all amazing people.
All right, then with that, it's a goodbye. So good night, people. Have a fun Scroll Dream week. Bye bye.